Hello everyone, welcome to World Cricket Chat, where our cricket analyst Suneer Chowdhary and I, Shruti Chopra, will review the IPL squads after today's auction, which saw 66 players sold, in which 27 were overseas players. In fact, 4 English players fetched 32.7 crore rupees, whereas 19 Indian players got 19.45 crore rupees. Hi Suneer, how did you find today's auction?
Hi, Shruti. An interesting one. Look, the original franchise contracts were for 10 years alone. So that's a period that gets over after the season, which also means that there'll be a major auction next year. So in that sense, this season's auction was all about, it was more of a consolidation kind of a phase, a slightly more low-key affair. And despite that, as you said, those numbers don't suggest that it was a very low-key affair.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting one. We saw a lot of big ticket players getting sold. We also saw a few unknown names, or rather unheralded names, who got through and made it to the squads. And there were a few who probably are not too well known and were sold for a lot of money as well. So an interesting one overall. And here we are to view all the teams.
Great. I want to start with my favorite team, the Mumbai Indians. What are your thoughts on their squad, the one that they have for this season now?
Mumbai Indians bought one or two players for every position, I think. Batsmen, bowlers, spin bowlers, fast bowlers, keepers, and all rounders. And I think they'll be reasonably satisfied with what they did. I'm quite happy to see Mitchell Johnson back in the side after being released from the Mumbai Indians lineup in 2013. I think Saurav Tiwari also had started his career with the Mumbai Indians and returns back to where he started that from. And it also gives the side a domestic batting option to rely on. I also think it was high time that the Mumbai Indians brought in a proper spinner into their lineup, and that's exactly what they did with Karn Sharma. I think Harbhajan Singh still remains the first choice spinning option, but there are days when you wonder whether it would do them good if they have a backup to Harbhajan Singh. And Karan Sharma could come in as and when the situation demands. And when I say the situation demands, it could either be a pitch where you need to play more than one frontline spinner, or there are form or injury issues with Harbhajan Singh. Shruti?
And like you mentioned, Mitchell Johnson comes back to Mumbai. What did you make of that move?
Oh, well, Shruti, I like the move. In fact, I was surprised that they let him go in 2013. And his presence will add a lot of firepower to the side after the way he performed in the closing stages of the Big Bash League. I do understand that Mitchell McClanahan has been fairly successful for the Mumbai Indians, but Johnson's recent showing in the Big Bash League gives me a lot of hope for the Mumbai Indians, especially given that he will have Jasprit Bumrah and Lasith Malinga alongside him in the fast bowling department.
Suneer, have Mumbai been able to sort their opening combinations out?
I think they have a good opening combinations, and they're pretty good in that area. There's Rohit Sharma, there's Josh Butler, Lendl Simmons, and Partha Patel if required. They can all take up that spot when needed. And to begin with, I think Rohit Sharma and Butler should open the innings. I'm not very sure whether Rohit wants to open the innings or bat down the order as he sometimes does. While Simmons can come in once Butler leaves for national duties. So they are fairly sorted in that area, and I think they're fairly sorted down the order as well. Because Karen Pollard has been their finisher for all these years, but now if Karen Pollard has any injury issues or there are some form issues, because Pollard does take some time to get going, they have brought in Asela Gunaratne, and he's an all-rounder of a very similar mold as Pollard. He doesn't hit the ball that hard, but he still gets the hits going. And Mahela Jayawardena, the Mumbai coach, would be knowing him quite well, given that he's from Sri Lanka as well. So I think they have made a good choice in that department as well, Shruti.
Now, Suneer, I know you're a Rahul Dravid fan, so let's move on to the Delhi Daredevils. What do you make of the Daredevil side for this season?
The Daredevils continues to have that stamp of Rahul Dravid all about it, especially in the batting lineup, in the batting department, which has a plethora of youngsters and fringe domestic cricketers. There's Mayank Agarwal, Shreyas Iyer, Sanju Samson, Rishabh Pant, and a couple more added to that list in Ankit Bawane and Aditya Tare. Look, Carlos Brathwaite and Chris Morris were good picks last season, but both have national commitments in the middle of this IPL season, which is why even the presence of Angelo Matthews and Corey Anderson will help. Now, some might point to the fact that both are recovering from injuries. I think Matthews is injured right now, and Corey Anderson doesn't bowl these days. But given that the first picks would be Brathwaite and Morris, I think that should also give Matthews and Anderson a chance to get fit before they get brought into the lineup.
Now, South African Kagiso Rabada must be a special addition to the squad.
Kagiso Rabada is a match winner of his own, Shruti, and that adds a lot of firepower to the bowling. And he's also one of the chief reasons why South Africa is the number one ODI side in the world today. He averages 26 and 22 with the ball in ODIs and T20 cricket respectively, and should be an exciting addition to the IPL. I think he could leave for South African national duties in the middle of the tournament, but even after that, the Delhi Daredevils have done well to bring in Pat Cummins as a good replacement who will be waiting in the wings. I think Rabada will start in the playing 11 before Cummins, but once Rabada leaves, the Aussie speedster could come in as a replacement, or even when the form or fitness demands, in case there are injury issues with Rabada, or he suddenly loses form all of a sudden overnight.
Moving on to the two-time champions Kolkata Knight Riders. What are your first thoughts?
Kolkata had a strong core of the Indian batsmen, and with Chris Lynn showing the kind of form that he showed recently in the Big Bash League, which also brought him national selection, I think they needed just one more as a backup batsman, and found it in Darren Bravo, West Indian middle order batsman Darren Bravo. I must say that they could have gone for someone like an Alex Hayes, even though he might have to leave early, or a Ross Taylor, or even a Ben Dunker in that lineup instead of Bravo, all of whom are more suited to the format of the game. But that aside, I think they have reposed their faith in their existing spinners and instead chosen to bolster their pace bowling lineup, bringing in 3 medium pace all-rounders and 2 pace bowlers, apart from unheralded medium pacer in Sayan Ghosh. A lot of that could be to do with the fact that the Eden Gardens has a relayed surface, which means that there won't be any of the previous slow and low bounce which had pushed Gautam Gambhir and the side into bringing in a lot of spinners. This is a flatter, a more batting friendly pitch, and the fast bowlers might have a lot more say in on this one.
Suneer, something that really intrigues me. Would Chris Woakes fill in the obvious Andre Russell void?
Look, Andre Russell's absence will be a huge blow after he was suspended for a year for an anti-doping violation. And Gambhir would need the likes of medium pacers, Chris Woakes, and even Rishi Dhawan to an extent to provide him with some batting buffer down the order that Russell did for them. Look, I would put Woakes as a slightly better bowler than Russell, but the West Indian is a far better late order hitter than most of the batsmen around the world. I think I would in fact even include a Kieron Pollard in that list, which is where KKR could miss him a lot. One other thing that strikes me is the lack of wicket-keeping options for Kolkata. Most teams have gone with just 2 or 3 wicket-keepers, and that's the case with Kolkata as well. They have 2 wicket-keepers in Robin Uthappa and Sheldon Jackson. But the thing to be noted here is neither of them are frontline wicket-keepers. Robin Uthappa has grown into the job over the past couple of seasons, and Sheldon Jackson, again, is not a frontline keeper. Which could be a problem in case of injuries, but KKR are probably hoping that things don't go too wrong, and if they do, they'll be allowed to call upon someone. But surely, I think they could have added someone at their base price when wicket-keeping options are concerned.
Well, let's move on to the Royal Challengers Bangalore. Surely, they have enough in their tanks to win the IPL for a change.
They have enough in their batting tanks, I think. But they had a golden chance to do that last season as well, Shruti. And looking at this year's auction, the Royal Challengers Bangalore refused to fiddle around too much with their batting, which is quite understandable. Because why would you want to do that when you have the likes of Kohli, Gale, De Villiers, Watson, KL Rahul, and not to mention Kedar Jadhav, the recent toast of the nation, along with Sarfaraz Khan and Travis Head in their lineup. As a result, Bangalore did not add any new batsmen to their lineup, instead focusing their attention on the pace bowling department after losing Mitchell Starc, and that's a huge blow. losing Mitchell Stark yesterday. And I think Timmer Mills is a good choice in that respect as a replacement for Stark.
Speaking of Timur Mills, he's a specialist T20 player. It's been mentioned that he'll probably be hit back as fast as he bowls, but he must be a better option than Chris Jordan, who was in RCB last year.
you, that's quite an ouch statement in both respects. I don't think Tamil Mills is that bad a bowler that he'll probably be hit as fast as he bowls. Of course, if he loses the lines and lengths, then that could be a problem. I think he's a worthy replacement. He did show during the series against India that he's not a one-dimensional bowler. It's not all about pace with him. He bowls a good line and length. He has a good slower ball. We saw how Yuvraj Singh was deceived by a slower ball of his in one of the matches. And while Billy Stanley, the Aussie bowler, hasn't had a great start to his international career, I think he will provide the necessary backup. So in that sense, they are well served. And I know you're not much of a big fan of Jordan, but he looked to be a much improved bowler during the ODIs and T20s against India as well. Plus, you must give it to him, the Chinnaswamy Stadium has never been kind to the bowlers in the white ball format, Shruti.
That's true.
To add to the fast bowling department, I must also quickly say that Pawan Negi comes in for a much lower cost than he had last season, 8.5 crore to 1 crore this season, and he'll fight for the second spinner spot in the playing 11 with Iqbal Abdullah, I think, to partner Yuzvendra Chahal in the lineup. Shruti?
Right, so let's get on to the Gujarat Lions. Do you think they can maintain the kind of form they had shown in the last season? What are your first thoughts looking at the auction today?
The Lions brought back Akshdeep Nath after having released him before the auction, and there was another couple of minor additions to the batting, like the UAE player Chirag Suri been brought in, and Shubham Agarwal as well. But I think the biggest pick was Jason Roy, who had a very strong, aggressive option at the top of the order. Problem for Gujarat is that there are far too many overseas batsmen in their squad. McCullum, Dwayne Smith, Aaron Finch, and now Jason Roy, with Dwayne Bravo and James Faulkner also a part of their foreign lineup, which is probably why they have compensated by going for a plenty of Indian bowlers like Nathu Singh, Basil Thampi, Shelly Shaurya, Munaf Patel, who's making a comeback, Manpreet Goni, who will be making a comeback to go with their existing speedsters, and Dhaval Kulkarni, Praveen Kumar, and Pradeep Sangwan. I think they have a decent squad, but I think they could have gone in with an established Indian name in their batting. Someone like even a Cheteshwar Pujara, Abhinav Mukund, or Subramanyam Badrinath. I think Pujara is a Saurashtra player as well, a local, and that might have been an added bonus for the Gujarat Lions.
So an Indian player that gives stability. Now you spoke about Roy. Does Jason Roy look like a sure shot opener for you till the time he's available? Or would he need to be rotated so that once he's missing, they have a set replacement? And who would that opening replacement be?
No, Shruti, no, I don't think so. There's nothing sure shot about Roy being an opener for the Gujarat Lions. Look, he has proven a white ball pedigree, but as I said, the team has McCullum, Dwayne Smith, and Aaron Finch, and all of them can open at this level and have much more experience at this level. So I wouldn't be surprised if Roy is just a backup opening batsman. Dwayne Smith adds a bowling option too, so I'll probably have Smith and McCullum opening for the Gujarat Lions, and then two players out of Roy, Finch, Faulkner and Bravo would make it to my playing 11 depending on form and fitness.
Manpreet Goni has been in and out of the IPL. In fact, he's even left cricket for some time. But today he was bought by the Gujarat Lions. Do you see him making a comeback?
His was another interesting story. The IPL riches to rags story, I think. Did well in the first couple of IPL seasons, got selected to the Indian team, played in a couple of ODIs, and then disappeared with personal issues. But now it's good to see that he's back. He's in with a chance because he has been among the wickets at the domestic level. But then so is Basil Thampi, who has been spoken of highly even before the auction because of the pace and bounce that he generates. Exciting times ahead for the pace bowling department, especially for those who want to have a look at the upcoming Indian fast bowling talent. And there are a lot of those in this IPL.
Great. Moving on to the rising Pune Supergiants. Are you happy with what you see?
I am not sure if the rising Pune Supergiants have thought through every move of theirs very carefully. Look, to an extent, I understand their decision to sack MS Dhoni after what transpired last season. But what were they doing during the auction? Buying Ben Stokes might have been a coup of sorts, but it came at a cost. It came at a huge cost, in fact, a price of rupees 14.5 crore, and that to an extent tied their hands away during the auction. They're the only team which ended the auction with less than a crore in their purse. The only reserve batsman that they brought in was Manoj Tiwari, and there was no backup wicketkeeper brought in either. I think they might have also missed a trick in not bringing an Indian pace bowler, probably even someone like an Ishant Sharma to the lineup. And I know that Ishant Sharma hasn't been in the best of form when it comes to this format, but you do need that kind of experience. What Pune will need during the season, during the IPL season, I feel is to get into some sort of a momentum with a given set of 11 or 12 players or 13 players. That is for Rahane to strike the kind of form that he had with Rajasthan, Smith to showcase his best T20 efforts, Dhoni and Stokes to excel as finishers, Ravichandran Ashwin to be able to display the same control that he has with the red ball, and Ishwar Pandey and Ashok Dinda to play their roles as fast bowlers. Tough to see a majority of them succeeding at the same time, which could be a problem for Pune.
You touched upon Ben Stokes. He has to be the biggest talking point. Rising Pune Supergiants did spend 14.5 crore rupees on him, despite him not being available for the entire IPL. I believe they spent 82% of their budget. Is that kind of spending justified?
Look, on the one hand, you do want to go for a player like Ben Stokes who can give you a lot with the bat ball and in the field. But on the other, you need to look at whether your other bases are covered. And I'm not sure that's the case for the Super Giants. For Pune to justify buying a player at that cost, they need him to be a match winner of his own, whether with the bat or the ball. And dish out performances like a Chris Gale, AB de Villiers or Virat Kohli or some of the other players at their respective peaks. And if he can do that, then well, it will shut a lot of us critics up. But for now, I think that spending that much money on a single player, whether it's Ben Stokes or anyone else, is a bit of a luxury that Pune could have well avoided.
Yep, that was quite a bidding war there. Now let's get on to the Kings 11 Punjab. Do you think they have the squad to shrug off their previous performances and push into the playoffs?
Punjab finished at the bottom of the points table last season, but they have stuck to their guns, their tactics, and decided not to splurge during the auction. They were left with a purse of 13.9 crore rupees, the most for any team. And despite that, they have a side that could provide a surprise or two, I think. Look, I know teams will be handicapped by the loss of England players when they leave for national duty, but Oni Morgan's selection was good, a good call given his recent form. The one thing in Morgan's favour is that he has been playing in this format of the game recently and playing in India and UAE where the conditions will be very similar to what he finds in the IPL and has had a couple of good knocks going for him as well. And not to mention that he played in the Big Bash League recently and helped the Sydney Thunder win one of his games before he left for India for the ODIs and the T20s. I think Darren Sammy has been brought in as well as some sort of a backup for Glenn Maxwell and Marcus Stoinis. But who knows, Punjab might even want to play both Maxwell and Sammy in the finishing role.
What do you make of the rest of their squad?
Punjab have also been bolstered by their pace bowling department, something that might have been lacking a bit of firepower. They brought in Varun Aaron and Matt Henry, which means that they might play them ahead of Anureet Singh and Shardul Thakur. Varun Aaron and Matt Henry are two very quick bowlers as opposed to the medium paces that Anureet and Shardul have been. There's another name, T. Natarajan, who's a bit of an unknown quantity, but again, his left arm bowling will help the side. He has had his time out because of a suspect action, but has come back and had a good TNPL season with 10 wickets from 7 games and an economy rate of 7.33. So he's also one player to look out for.
We all like a good story, and T. Natarajan is that good story there. He started with a base price of 10 lakhs and ended with 3 crores. He comes from quite a humble background. This must be a special day for him.
Yes, one of the few special stories during this auction, Shruti, and it will be now up to him to show the kind of performance that can consolidate his position in the side, or if we have a big auction coming up next year in the minds of those who are going to be selecting players next year. He's a death over specialist, loves bowling those Yorkers at will, and should make for an exciting watch. You know what also has changed in recent times in Indian cricket is there are a lot of these BCCI approved local state T20 leagues that sprung up, like the Tamil Nadu Premier League, the Haryana Premier League, Karnataka Premier League, and so on. And the cricketers, those who perform at that level, and Natarajan is one of them, have a very good chance of getting a call up to the IPL, and from then on into the national side, making these tournaments a good feeder to the IPL, which makes for a lot of sense.
Absolutely. Last but not the least, the defending champion Sunrisers Hyderabad. What's your take on their squad?
Someone pointed out to me on Twitter that the Hyderabad batting might just be over-reliant on David Warner. But I think there are others like Shikhar Dhawan, Yuvraj Singh and Deepak Hooda in the lineup as well. I think the problem was last season, these guys did not show a lot of good form. The Dhawans, the Yuvrajas, the Deepak Hoodas. And that is where they might struggle and rely majorly on David Warner. Once these guys start batting well, you never know, their fortunes could turn around right to the beginning phases of the tournament as well. Let's not forget that they are the defending champions, so it's very easy to point fingers, but they after all won the tournament. They could have brought in an additional overseas T20 batsman like a Martin Guptill or an Andre Fletcher, but I think Kane Williamson can do the job in his own way if he can strike form early. Hyderabad also released two batsmen from their lineup after last season, Oni Morgan and Aditya Tare, and brought in Mohammad Nabi and Tanmay Agrawal, while also selecting Praveen Tambe for Karan Sharma. So in that sense, they seem to have picked the like-for-like replacements. Quite surprised that they doled out rupees 4 crore on Rashid Khan, leg spinner Rashid Khan from Afghanistan. But I must quickly add that the Afghani is an excellent leg spinner and with proper development, I think could also become one of the players to watch out in the world.
Suneer, you'd pointed out the fact that the Sunrisers have so many pace bowlers. We have come to understand that Mustafizur Rahman and Barinder Saran are not too fit. So yes, they have tried to strengthen that area, but how well do you see the new buys fitting into the scheme of things?
Their pace bowling department is the most striking feature of the Hyderabad side. So replete with names that I tweeted earlier that it can form playing 11 of its own. If I include Moses Enrique, there are 12 medium pacers in the side. And while I understand that some of them will not be available for the entire length of the tournament for various reasons, it's still crazy to think how difficult it would be for the management to prune down that list of 12 fast bowlers down to 3 or 4 that they'll need for the final 11. So makes for an interesting case for them.
Certainly very interesting, and it seems like this IPL will be interesting, as have the other years. Especially, I'm going to look out for how Ben Stokes does, as we all will. That's it from us. We have gone through all the 8 teams there, and we will be back with more IPL-related stuff as we get closer to the tournament. Do subscribe to our channel by clicking on the red button, and do follow us on Twitter @WorldCricket. And that's me and Suneer signing out. Bye-bye.